trusting that Jeremiah could handle my heart or handle my insecurities.
I can handle it. I can hold it and love it.
Enjoy it.
Yes, that physical connection. All right, welcome back to another episode of Arrows. This is the podcast that aims to guide you through Christian relationships and stages of dating and raising kids and everything in between. My name is Jeremiah.
And I am Monica,
and today,
his wife.
You are my wife, my beautiful wife. Today, we just got done with our episode on the wedding day and tying the knot. Today, we're going to talk about the honeymoon. So, what did we do for our honeymoon?
We went to Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Not north, but
Not
south.
North. I know. We always say north.
Yeah,
Maybe we need
north.
to go to North Carolina. That'll be our next
It's a beautiful place.
vacation. Yeah. And yeah, we were there for, 4 or 5 days, something like that, I think.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be 3 days.
Was it really only 3 days?
And then they had a hurricane. So it was it ended up being
longer than that.
1 day longer, which we were totally fine with.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a hotel, and it was the first vacation that I bought on my own. I've been blessed enough to have vacations with family, and I've seen a lot of America and a little bit of the world traveling on different various trips, family trips or with the church. But this was the first vacation I bought and paid for. Bought plane tickets on my own.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. I made a login for American Airlines, so I'm an American Airlines member.
Yeah. We grew up very different, side note, because he did go on vacations and stuff. I did not.
I was very privileged growing up, so thanks to my parents for being able to show me the world and different cultures. I think that's it's priceless to be able to.
Yeah, I agree.
But we're talking about the honeymoon today.
Yes.
And the honeymoon is so important. Babe, what is the number one priority during a honeymoon?
To connect. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I would say connect.
Quality time.
Yeah, quality time.
Connection on different levels, physical connection, emotional and spiritual.
Yeah.
Because before the honeymoon, as you're courting or you're getting ready to be married, you've set up some walls, some certain boundaries to protect yourself. And those would be physical, so you don't have sex before marriage. It would be emotional, so you don't go too deep emotionally and develop a soul tie before you're married, or a deep emotional or spiritual connection. Like we wouldn't probably have a one-on-one Bible study time where I'm teaching Monica and being her mentor and leader. It might seem like a good thing, oh my gosh, me and my, future spouse are doing Bible studies together. And I'm not demonizing that.
Right.
You can definitely do that. You just want to be careful not to build too much of a spiritual connection too soon.
Yeah.
And that's just those boundaries that you put up. Again, God's boundaries are barriers to where you can have fun and play within the boundary, but just don't go past the fence line.
Yeah.
It's not a straight jacket to tell you what you can and can't do, and all the ways the don't, and no.
Yeah.
It's more like yes inside this boundary, and then once you get to marriage, we're going to open up a little bit wider.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And there's safety in boundaries while you're dating and while you're engaged. It's creating safety. It's also building trust.
Yes.
Trusting that Jeremiah could handle my heart or handle my insecurities.
I can handle it. I can hold it and love it.
Thank you.
I think of animals like cattle. They have fence. It's for protection.
Yeah.
It's to keep the wolves out.
Yeah.
It's not so they have to live here and they can't go explore the free range.
Right.
It's it's a big open area with fences on the outside to keep the wolves and to keep the predators out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like building walls to isolate yourself or, anything like that. It's not. It is,
It's to keep a tight-knit community. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
So you got to change the way you think about biblical boundaries. And I would assume people who aren't Christian are like, that's crazy.
Right.
And they're like, why would you wait to have sex until marriage? I don't understand why. A lot of people understand that Christians do that. I don't think they know why or what the benefit is. And so a little bit about the first few episodes of this podcast has hopefully led you down that road to let you know. I think that's one of the big things.
Yeah.
That sex is like a fire. Wildfires can destroy, but a proper fire within boundaries, right? If you create a fire outside, you always put rocks around the outside or some type of non-flammable barrier to keep it there, to contain the warmth. And you can cook on it. You can warm your hands. Your whole friends and family can enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's sex inside of marriage. What a wildfire can destroy villages, towns, and cities.
Right.
And so it's the same thing. They're both a fire, but one has a proper boundary and a proper place where it can go. And we all have that in our lives.
Yeah.
So.
And the honeymoon's the place where you get to enjoy it.
Yes, that physical connection.
It's very fun.
Yeah, so it's quality time, that physical connection. You're going to have lots of sex in your first, few months and year of marriage.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great time to establish some foundations. Mm-hmm. And remember when we read a couple of books, I think it was The Great Sex Rescue. Yeah. And what was the other one? The Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex. The Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex. Yeah, and those were great. We read a couple of those chapters together. Monica was reading those books on the plane ride to North Carolina to our honeymoon. Mm-hmm. And I kind of jumped in on the conversation and she was like, these are great books. And so a couple of the chapters, one was like the anatomy of a man and a woman. Mm-hmm. Like, let's establish between us so we know what is the anatomy of a woman. And so, because a lot of times, private parts are hidden as a kid. Right. They're not talked about, even through being a teen in your 20s. Like, it's taboo and not talked about. So now that we're in our young 30s and we're married, we need to both know, let's just at least establish what our physical bodies are. Yeah. And what are these parts of the bodies? How do they work and what are they for? Mm-hmm. That way we can know how to maybe better communicate with each other, better please each other, or things like that. But I loved those books. I think that that was establishing a foundation. So we know that anatomy chapter was great. And one of the books, I think she was going over things that she likes and doesn't like. She was like, let's talk about lingerie. She was like, I love lingerie, and as a Christian woman, it's okay to wear lingerie and to, do these special things and special nights for your husband. Mm-hmm. Talks about oral sex and other things like that. Yeah. And she was saying, I like this or I don't like this. So we'll let you guys read the book, but I really appreciated that. Mm-hmm. And it was questions that I had, maybe would ask my pastor in private possibly for like, is this okay?
And you may not. Like, there's so much shame. And I think we're getting better now with talking about sex in a Christian realm and in the church and stuff like that. But like growing up, it was so taboo.
Demystifying.
It's hard for me, especially like we boys. And they are almost 9 and 10. Yeah. And we've had conversations around, like you said, like private areas or whatever.
And sex.
Like classic phrase, I'm the boss of my body. I'm the boss of my body. I get to choose if I want to be touched or not. So we started that as a young age that I was more comfortable with. But now that we're there 9 and 10, getting into preteens.
Asking more questions
about sex and stuff. It's almost like uncomfortable for me because I come out of purity culture of like, oh, we don't talk about that. That's taboo. We don't mention it. So it's hard to like navigate that. And there can be so much shame associated with it.
Yeah. And I always say you want to be ahead of the curve. Yeah. That if you don't teach your kids about sex by 7 or 8 or 9 years old, they're going to learn in school. By the time they get to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, the kids are starting to joke about sex, joke about body parts. And that's how a lot of us learned was through this kind of locker room talk and banter and different jokes and things like that. Yeah, boys.
It's such a different experience with boys and girls because I think boys is that kind of like locker room jokes, and for girls, it's so, at least when I grew up, it's so shame. It's so like, don't talk about it and sex is bad and, be pure on your wedding night and that kind of a thing. Yeah. So it's just so different. Having a conversation early and
those awkward conversations and getting comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. That's good with your kids. That's good at work. that's good at your church,
Yeah.
With your best friends. Like if sometimes those uncomfortable conversations can be some of the best conversations or most fruitful conversations.
Yeah.
You want to lay the groundwork for your kids so that they learn from you and not from little Johnny at school,
Right.
Who's maybe looking at a pornographic magazine or videos on his iPad these days and things like that. We want to establish what's right and wrong so that they know I want to stay away from this and why.
Yeah.
You know, that there's plenty of studies. Yeah, that pornographic images when you're young can be very harmful. There's even studies that say that watching porn at any age, especially for a young man, your brain actually thinks that you are having sex. So it relates those images that you saw, however they were, to that's what sex is. And in pornography, in the industries, there's a lot of kinks and a lot of aggression, sex. So it's like that's you're not getting a real picture of married sex life or typical man and woman. It's a lot of it could be even sexual abuse that is being filmed. And can be too graphic. And so, but yeah, for a little boy to have that, like, this, that's what's pleasurable, is sexual abuse, basically, or, or doing the wrong thing. So you don't want to start that at 14, 15 or younger.
Or younger.
Yeah, that's a bad road to go down.
And then you carry that on into your honeymoon, into the beginning of your marriage, Yeah.
And a lot of those things come out in early marriage. You realize the type of, because now you've really given yourself, physically, emotionally, and spiritually over to this other person. So a lot of things start to surface up, and you start to realize, oh, there was a lot of hurt that happened in my young childhood, or I didn't know that I had a certain expectation of what you would do in sex or what I could do to you, or and that could be really hurtful. Like, the woman could be saying, I don't like that. And that makes me feel belittled, and I'm not okay with that. And vice versa. Like, maybe the guy, doesn't know what he's doing or hasn't done it much. So, so many things that are taboo are typically attacked by the devil. Sex is God's idea, and sex done God's way is the very best version of sex. So that what the devil does in those things, he does it with sex, he does it with your identity, with love and truth. Like, he'll attack your identity, who you are as a person, and he'll attack your sexual. He'll exploit you sexually, so he'll cause you to lust or look at that person or that guy, that girl. So those things, that's how you know those things have a high value to God, is because the devil only attacks high value assets. And so it totally reveals his whole game plan. But we have to be privy to it as Christians. We have to say, if God is attacking this if the devil is attacking this so much, it must have a very high value to God. Because the devil wouldn't waste his time with something that wasn't going to wreck the church or wasn't going to wreck, God's loved one. So
that's good, babe.
That's how we know. But turning the page a little bit, what was one of your favorite parts about our honeymoon? What went right for you?
I loved our honeymoon so much. I thought it was so much fun. And we got to eat at really great places. We ate a lot.
Amazing.
We ate a lot, but it was delicious.
Oh, it was so good.
But going to Java Burrito was like my favorite. It had...
It's like Chipotle and Starbucks together.
It was really good.
It's amazing.
And I don't think we knew... Did we know it was coffee? I don't remember. But I think we went there originally for like lunch burritos. And then it was like, oh, there's coffee here. They had like matchas and they had like the best matchas. So good.
They were good.
And then, just like other coffees and stuff. So that was really fun. We got to go to the beach. Like where we stayed was like right on the beach. So we got to walk down to the beach.
Walks on the beach, holding hands, taking pictures.
I know. We took lots of pictures and videos. We went shopping.
Got to shop a little bit and went to the Salty Dog. Got to eat alligator bites, which are alligator chicken nuggets. But for foodies out there, I highly recommend whatever city you're in, just Google, Alabama foodie or Hilton Head Island, South Carolina foodie. And we did that. We actually found a blogger that came up that had been to Hilton Head and was saying for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you got to try these 3 or 4 places. And here's what I ordered and what I like about it, what I didn't like about it. So we took that as a guide and we went all over Hilton Head, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Thank you for that lady. I can't remember, her name was like Akita or something.
It was Kiki or something. Yeah. I don't remember, but it was just like a food blog.
Yeah, it rhymed. It was like Kiki's.
And she had like, we would like thank her, like, oh, thanks. Yeah, whatever her name was.
Yeah.
When we would go out. And she had like suggestions on like places to visit. And so we went to a couple of those places and it was fun. And we like didn't really go with a plan. We went just kind of
no itinerary.
Yeah, no itinerary.
That's how I vacation is no itinerary.
I've learned to vacation that way.
Yeah. Yeah, not no itinerary, like zero plan.
Yeah.
But I do like to keep things open to say, how are we feeling tonight? Do we want to go out? Do we want to stay in?
Because you might not. You might be like, you know, if you go somewhere really far and like, oh, we have a snorkeling day, you know, you may come to that. Yeah, you'd be like, oh, I don't really want to go snorkeling. I just want to like cuddle up in bed.
Yeah. Some things you have to have a plan for. Like we just went to Branson recently with my parents parents and family for Christmas.
Yeah.
And like we went to the Queen Esther show in Branson at the Sight and Sounds Theater.
Yeah.
And for that, you have to have tickets and you have to buy them in advance because they sold out. So that would be a plan. Mm-hmm. But we didn't plan out every second of the day leading up to that or after that.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, roughly, we know we want to we know we want to go karting at some point.
Yeah.
We know we're going to have some time for shopping for the adults. The kids can swim in the pool while the adults are shopping.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's always good to have, when you're with kids, to have a plan, I would say. We're talking about honeymoon, not having a plan with the adults. With the kids, you want them to be excited about the plan, about we're going to do this fun thing that you like, and then we're going to do this. And having a plan helps calm them down. I know for our oldest son, Seth, having a plan calms him down.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's coming gives him anxiety. So.
Goes back to the boundaries, you know, like even in that conversation, like just boundaries and structure. It's really good.
Yes.
All across ages.
True.
But it was fun to not have a plan, especially or like a not huge itinerary. Just because we can kind of like go with the flow and, you know, see what we want to do and what we don't want to do. And I liked that about it.
Yeah, I think, you know, in your regular life, so much of the things is planned. Like you got to go to work from this time to that time, and then after work you got to do this. Mm-hmm. It's nice to flip the script and go on vacation and say, hey, we're just going to hang out or we're just going to play it by ear. To me, that's very relaxing and to do the opposite of what you do in your normal day life.
And even if it's, you know, we flew to South Carolina and we live in the Midwest, so like we had to fly there. But if you have to drive somewhere, you have like a staycation. I know people who, you know, whether it's just because of work schedules or kid schedules or finances or whatever, may just stay locally. But, you know, just the importance of having just the two of you. Obviously, we have such a unique perspective because we are blended. So it was very much like, no, we need this time, just the two of us, because then we go back to reality and like
kids.
He had to like jump into like fatherhood and
I had to be a dad.
Yeah, I had to like immediately be a dad. So just the importance of just taking that time, just the two of you to, you know, build trust and communication, obviously build the intimacy part, even if it's not perfect. And especially if you've been successful in waiting before marriage, it may not go exactly how you thought it was going to go. You're like fumbling, but you're with that person for, you know, forever. So
yeah, just the first few days of getting to know each other for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so and you know, whatever best thing you can do to start that off, I would say quality time and getting to know each other, and whatever maybe, you know, boundaries or borders that you put up in dating. Now those walls have come down, like explore those things that you waited to say.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a childhood thing or past traumas, and that builds trust too. And obviously that can come over time. You don't have to like spill the beans of everything that's ever happened or what's going on in your heart right now that's like really pressing. You know, use good discernment and wise decision making for knowing what to say and when. But that can be a great time right there on the honeymoon when it's just you two with no kids, about emotional connection. I would say that's what that is. If you're going to share some maybe some childhood trauma or something like that, something from the past, you can build an emotional connection with someone. And they call that trauma bonding in like dating.
Right.
You can sometimes like you can bond over trauma. Like let's say we've both been abused as a child. Like I could just feel bonded to her because we both have.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we're right for each other.
Right.
And oftentimes those relationships can be toxic.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't heal from those things, then you're just like, we're bonding, but we're also butting heads. And so those can be some of the most, fireworks relationship. But that's one of the reasons why people are attracted to trauma bonding is the similarities and the passion that comes from it. So, But what else? What was one thing that you wish we would have done differently on our honeymoon?
Oh, gosh. I don't know if there was really anything I would have done. I loved that the honeymoon starts obviously right after the wedding. So we did not live together before we got married. And I loved that our first night together was at home.
Yeah, at our home.
At our house. So that was kind of
It was the first night that I lived there.
Me and the boys moved in not shortly before the wedding. It was a couple weeks before the wedding.
Yeah. We got you guys all moved in.
Yeah.
I stayed with my parents.
Yep. And then
we had our wedding.
On our wedding night. And we had friends decorate, which was really fun, and have like rose petals and candles and chocolate and wine. And that was just a really sweet touch because we hadn't lived together. I think you could still have that in a hotel room. And I think we kind of did like talk about it.
Yeah, you wanted to be in a hotel room.
I was like kind of adamant, like, no, I want a hotel room.
A lot of people do that, but I'm like...
He was like, no, I want to go home.
We could go home.
I want to be in our house.
This is my first house I've ever bought.
Yeah.
I want to go there and consummate the marriage.
Yeah. And I now in retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of loved that. It was, at our house and that was really sweet. And our friends did a great job in making it feel like romantic and not just feeling like, we're just coming home to an empty house or whatever. So I loved that. And then, we were home on that Sunday. We got married on a Saturday, and then we had Sunday where we didn't fly out until Monday. And I do love that. I kind of love that there was like a day of kind of rest and kind of recuperation. I think we opened some of our gifts and our cards and stuff.
Yeah. We did breakfast in bed the day after the wedding and just took it slow and then got packed up and got ready.
Which was nice.
A lot of people leave that next day.
Yeah, and that's a
stressor.
Yeah, I feel like that would be stressful and you're tired from the day before the wedding and all of that. So I love that we did that and then we flew out Monday. And I think our honeymoon itself was, I thought it was great and perfect and really wonderful.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I guess, I recommend anytime you take a vacation to have a day before and a day after. So if you take a 5-day vacation, if you can, take 7 days off work. So you can have 1 day to prepare before and 1 day to rest and recuperate on your coming back. Could be a time change on the way back. Whether there's a time change or not, you're usually exhausted just from being in a new place and experiencing new things, and your body comes back to reality. And you're like, man, that was really intense and exciting. Now I need to rest. Yeah. So, don't go right back to work that next day. That next day, going back to work's a bummer.
Yeah. And we stayed an extra day because there was a tropical storm where we were at. And so our flight got canceled. We ended up having to stay another day in the hotel, which was great. It was like, okay, this is fine.
If we need to stay another day, we can.
And then I think we came home and we still had an extra day before we got the boys back. I'm pretty sure.
I think we did.
Yeah, we didn't get them back right away. And obviously our situation is unique because we're blended. So we do already have children.
You might not have kids on your honeymoon.
Yeah. You won't have to worry about that. But
maybe you're trying to make a baby on your honeymoon.
Yeah, that's true. Back to the sex conversation. Don't put pressure on having sex the night of your wedding. So there's something else that book that we talked about earlier, The Great Sex Rescue, or the other one, I can't remember which one, but they talk about you're waiting for marriage, but as a woman and a man, you're also waiting for desire and arousal and all that. And if you have successfully waited and you haven't done a lot of things before marriage, there's steps that you can take to, get ready for actually having sex. Don't feel like you guys need to rush through that of oh, well, it's our wedding night, so we have to do it. Because then that can kind of set you up for failure or uncomfortability, or, you're building that trust with your spouse of communication and stuff like that. So kind of like relieve the pressure. Because I know that was something we talked about on our wedding night.
Yes.
When we got to the hotel or to our house, I was kind of like, I'm really tired. Like, maybe we won't, I don't know.
Yeah, you've done so much on your wedding day that at the end of the night, 10, 11 o'clock or later, you're like exhausted. But
you may not.
My best tip for guys is that guys have to know that women take a little bit more time to get ready for sex. Yeah. So there's the longer period of arousal. And so you have to really focus on foreplay and things and making her feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. Those things will kind of coax her out of her shell a little bit. Whereas guys, it's like you flip a switch. Like we could be ready right now if we need to be.
Especially if you've waited.
Yeah.
Like if you, we've said before, we were unsuccessful in waiting. Yeah. But if you really have waited until that moment.
You have to awaken love.
Yeah, you have to awaken love and just take that time and just, you're enjoying each other.
And when you wake someone up, it's supposed to wake them up slowly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like you kind of ease awake. It might take, a little bit of time.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. So that's the best advice for guys. Have great communication. Make sure, ask your spouse those questions like, are you ready? What can I do to help you get ready?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. So set a mood, light a candle.
Yeah. Anything.
Yeah.
So I know guys really are, because guys aren't like that. So we're not thinking on that level of thinking.
Right. Yeah.
We're not thinking like, oh, I need to set the mood and have the emotional atmosphere right. We're just like, I'm ready. So whenever you're ready, I'm ready. But we have to get on that level of the ladies and kind of understand how to build up to it. And it's way more fun when you build up to it, honestly, when you're taking the right steps to get to the final place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So, I think the honeymoon can be such a great time to establish that, physical connection. Mm-hmm. There's, the walls come down a little bit on that area, emotional and spiritual. You can start reading your Bible together. You can start really opening up emotionally to what's going on in your heart, either right now as it is today or in the past, things that happened, just to have a connection with each other. And so we definitely recommend taking a honeymoon if you can.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be somewhere expensive. Same thing with your wedding day. It doesn't have to be expensive, extravagant wedding. Mm-hmm. Your honeymoon, same thing. Does not have to be expensive, extravagant honeymoon. You could drive a couple hours away and stay in a cabin, or some people, like camping or glamping or
we don't like camping.
I'm just saying, my point is it doesn't have to be a 5-star hotel,
right? Yeah,
like you can, it's all about the connection and quality time. And quality time can be spent anywhere in the world,
right? Yeah, because you go on a honeymoon and then you come back and you have reality and jobs and finances and all that stuff. It's the one time after your wedding where you're becoming one flesh and you really are just like, the focus really is just on each other. And that was really great about our honeymoon, is that it did feel like we're just focused on each other. We're just focused on experiencing new things. You're going to get out of the hotel room. You're not going to be having sex the entire time. So you're going to be enjoying life together. And that's the first step of the marriage. It can be really fun.
What's your best advice for ladies getting ready for a honeymoon?
I don't know. Read the books, I would say.
Those books are awesome.
Read those sex books. I think they're really good, really informative. She interviewed hundreds of women to get perspectives on it. And it really helped me to feel more comfortable in that intimacy area.
Sure.
So I think that is really good. And don't be afraid to open up to your husband, and to, have that open communication.
Yeah. Trust is built over time. And this is the first, step in that direction. And the honeymoon can be a great place to lay the foundation of what your beautiful marriage will be over the next 40, 50, 60 years. Yeah. So that's our best tips on the honeymoon. Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Just have fun. Go enjoy.
Yeah. Spend quality time. Have a great time with your spouse. We loved our honeymoon. It's a special memory for us. And if you guys have any questions for us, drop a line in the comments or shoot us a DM. We'd love to help you out and try to be wise counsel in any way that we can. Until next time, I'm Jeremiah, and this is my wife, Monica. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye. All right, peace.
Bye.